morning, everybody. This is my first time presenting in a movie theater. I mean, I expect you guys to have popcorn, soda. It's pretty amazing. So my name is Nick Mihajlovski. I'm a senior product manager at Google. Today I'm going to be talking a little bit about cloud BI solutions, and I'm here with Nikunj Shanti from AirAsia, who's going to be talking about how they've actually used our BI platform to drive amazing insights. So let me give you an anecdote. I was talking to two executives from the same company, and it was fascinating to hear about how they were using our cloud platform. Both of them were using the same pieces and same tools, but they're fundamentally doing different things with their data. And I think that's the larger case, that organizations want to do more with their data, yet the data is increasingly all over their company. You have data within your sales team, your marketing operations, and people want to start joining it together with external data from their company, such as data from the public sector, from higher ed, partners, and distributors. What's fascinating at Google is we have a lot of partners, and we have a lot of internal data that we're starting to share across externally from our organization using our BI platform. We're also starting to take data and sharing it from other partners back to Google. For example, we have a friend in our manufacturing team who's getting data from our manufacturers around tolerances, and they're using machine learning at Google to help improve our manufacturers' production of our Android devices. So the thing here is, the beautiful thing here is the amount of data is growing exponentially. And if you kind of look to the center of this, IDC predicts that by 2025, there'll be 163 zettabytes of data. That's huge. Like, what is a zettabyte? It's 1 trillion gigabytes. So that's like hard to imagine how much data that is. So let's just, for fun, imagine your cell phone is about 1/4 inch thick and has 50 gigabytes. Now imagine I stack another cell phone to have a 1/2 inch and it's 100 gigabytes. Well, to reach 1 zettabyte, the distance of phones would be halfway between the Earth and Mars. It's just phenomenal. So what do we do with the data? Well, the data holds a lot of insights. And with that insights, you can do many different things, right? How many products and businesses were launched because they had new data to identify new opportunities? With the data, you can do better decisions, right? You can be more profitable as an organization. You can optimize, reduce costs with more information. You can personalize experiences to tailor the message that you give to all your customers. And with data, you can make eventually more money by, again, optimizing your whole supply chain. And finally, you can get more customers to come back by focusing on the right ones. So with all this data, there's a number of things that you can do. Now, if we go back 20 years when Larry and Sergey started Google, their mission was to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Now, our approach to BI at Google Cloud is to take that mission, but revolve it around your world of data, to help you organize your world of data, to help make it useful and accessible to all your stakeholders. And when you think about it, Google's DNA is really around BI, and now we're making it accessible through Google Cloud to empower your businesses. So what does the modern solution on Google Cloud look like? Well, there's 3 main pieces you could think about. One of them is making self-serve and flexibility a cornerstone. The second part is allowing you to scale in our infrastructure to allow you to focus on what matters the most. And the last part is to help you scale and communicate insights across your organization. So let's quickly look through some of these. There's a number of different technologies and tools organizations have. And within different departments, you have different skill sets, different infrastructure that will have different needs. And with Google, we have a number of pieces that we can tie together to make those solutions possible. At the center, we have BigQuery, our data warehousing solution. We have a number of tools to help bring in data from on-premise, from a number of Google products, and from even product data at Google. And on the right-hand side, you have a number of ways you can use it. You can use it through the BigQuery UI. You can use it through a number of BI tool integrations. You can even use it in spreadsheets very easily. And the beauty is, if there's something that's missing within their ecosystem, we have a number of partners to help fill that gap to make that information more accessible to you. Now, when you think about traditional BI and the infrastructure required, there's things you want to do with BI, but there's a lot of work required to manage BI. For example, scaling, reliability, resource provisioning. Now, the challenge with that is either you're going to spend a lot more money investing in all this additional management, or the person who's actually trying to do the insight and analysis is going to be bogged down by doing a lot of different tasks. With Google, we have a different solution where everything is serverless and integrated with the cloud. What that means is we take care of all this management for you, allowing you to focus on what matters most, to deliver value on the data you have access to. And finally, once you have access and value and you've come up with these insights, how do you communicate them across your organization? We have a new product called Google Data Studio. How many people have heard of Google Data Studio before? It's fantastic. That allows you to quickly access data across Google Cloud Platform, build beautiful reports, tell your story, and collaborate and share very easily within your organization and even across your organization. You can actually embed our reports to make public portals, and we can start using Data Studio as a front end. We have a number of teams at Google who just don't have the resource engineering, and so we're starting to use Data Studio as their front end solution, and we have a number of customers doing so as well. So I've given you a brief overview of where we see modern BI going at Google, but I think the most important thing is, what are we actually doing? What are our customers doing with this platform? And so I'm happy to invite Nikun Shanti to talk about how they're using it at AirAsia.
Sure. Hey. Oh, the clicker. Great. Thanks. Okay, no problem. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for coming. I know it's a little bit of a walk from the keynote, so thanks for making it. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I've been at AirAsia for now 2.5 years, and really started I would say the migration for us from doing analysis and reporting with traditional means, with a SQL Server reporting. That's what we had, and we had, I don't even know what you call the thing on there, the reporting thing. SQL Server reporting, I don't know. And then we used Excel and ODBC connection. That was pre my time. And then when I came in, one of the challenges that we wanted to do was really to grow our capabilities and really leverage the data that we have. So I'll tell you a little bit more about AirAsia, and I'll tell you our journey and how we migrated everything out there. So one of the missions when I started was our CEO, Tony, wanted to become a digital airline. And what that really meant was he wanted data to power a lot of the decision-making that was going on in the space. During the course of the time, we've flown 500 million passengers, so we have a lot of data, verified data about customers, and passports, et cetera. So there's a lot of rich data there. How do you kind of leverage that for the next growth phase of the airline? It's very easy when you're trying to get market share. When you're trying to go ahead and find new places to go, it's a little bit harder without analyzing your past history. So that was one of the things that we wanted to do, and part of becoming digital was also data drives a lot of decision making, but a lot of the stuff in the airline space, as most people that took a flight here probably saw a dot matrix printer printing out something to the cabin crew, right? So that's not really digital. So we're also looking at all the processes that generate data, and how do we kind of store that data into a central place so that we can go ahead and make better improvements in prediction and have that complete data loop that many Silicon Valley startups do. And that's something that we wanted to do at AirAsia. So a little bit more about AirAsia. We just won our 10th award for the best low-cost airline. Marketing folks maybe put this in. So that's the background, 10 years in a row. So I think we're probably the only airline that has won this category of awards more than 5 or 6 years. So it's pretty great for us as an airline if people don't know. And then AirAsia, about the numbers, we started out with 2 planes 16 years ago. Now we're at 230 planes, and these are the numbers here. We carry, I think 70 million last year. We're going to carry around 90 million passengers this year, 500 million, like I said, a lifetime, and we have around 24,000 staff. So that's kind of how it is. And then on our BigQuery, I mean, the numbers here are not that large when you compare to some people running 5 terabyte scans in one query. We do 3 terabytes on a monthly basis, so that's kind of the volume that we're dealing with, and I'll explain a little bit more about that volume. All right, and so why did AirAsia choose Google? So one of the biggest things when we started the evaluation is we're a low-cost airline. So low cost means, we wanted to pick a platform that was virtually effective on cost and utilization. So we looked and compared a couple other platforms, and we wanted to pick the one that was provided us the biggest bang for the buck. Google met that need there. The second thing is, I think what was brought out over and over in all the presentations that I've been to is you want your developers or your analysts or your reporting guys to be writing queries and insights, not worrying about indexing a column or waiting for storage or waiting for your infra guy to rack a server, et cetera. So we wanted to pick a platform that had no ops, right? And there's a lot of cloud solutions out there that are available, but they still require some infrastructure guy to do something. And that's something that we wanted to take away when we're picking our next generation platform. And then we wanted to make sure that it would grow as we grew as a company, right? We didn't want to go back and reinvent the wheel again and again. So when we looked at it, we looked at BigQuery as the choice for us. And back then, I think BigQuery wasn't as friendly as it is now. So now it's even more of a better choice if you're looking at it, if you're not a customer. But back then, it was, I think 2.5 years ago. It's still evolving, and there's a lot of changes that went in. Now it's a really even a superior platform to what it was back then. And then for us is, I talked about costs, I talked about scaling, but the biggest thing was no ops. We never wanted to be bottlenecked by anyone in operations to fulfill our needs, because when I came on board, folks were saying, we bought something, but we couldn't use it because it took 3 months for the infra guy to manage that ticket, to go ahead and rack the server, and we wanted to avoid that, or build the VM, or et cetera. So those are things that we kind of looked at. And part of what folks told us is, the hardest thing about using cloud is migrating all our data from on-prem to the cloud. And they were saying, we're based in Malaysia, so if you don't know Malaysia, Malaysia's near Singapore, near the equator, not many pipes, not a lot of connectivity. BigQuery's in the US. How do we ship all our data from here to the US? Can't be done, it takes too long. And what we found out is, it takes a little bit of time to extract the data, but once we threw it into a cloud storage bucket in Singapore and just said load into BigQuery, we were loading data faster than what anyone would see. So I think we loaded terabytes of data in under a minute or so. So it was really fast once we got the data into the Google ecosystem. To load it from Singapore even to the US location wasn't too bad. Okay, so in our process, we as anyone does, is really how do you get the data on-prem, move it to cloud? That's one of the challenges that we had, and consistently do that. The second part is we had a lot of data already, and as Nick mentioned, there was a lot of sources out there. One of our biggest sources of data was our Clickstream data, or our Google Analytics data. And since we already were a GA Premium, all that data already sat in the cloud in BigQuery. So it was a win-win for us. We didn't have to move our largest data set, which was our Clickstream data, anywhere else. We just left it there and moved our transactional data into the cloud. Okay, and then for us, getting the data into the cloud was great. And the first time we did it, back in 2016, I think we got all our data. We started the project in March. We kind of finished the moving of everything in August, and we're doing everything with cron jobs, right? So as the first thing, somebody did it. They had a Linux server in GCP, and they were just running cron jobs to manually upload the data or copy or et cetera. And as with anything, that worked really well. But as we started doing a lot more processes, we needed to see the dependency map that was going on, right? We couldn't figure out which one of our ETL processors were breaking because there's so many pieces of code. That's when we went ahead and looked at Airflow to help us with that, which is now available as Cloud Composer. And that helps us do the dependency mapping. So we'd probably have 17 on-premise systems. We need to go migrate those over. And to do that, we needed, if one of the on-premise systems didn't get migrated or the daily updates didn't get migrated, we wanted to be able to stop the whole process and have the ETL engineer go ahead and look at that. So Airflow lets us see that dependency, and the last thing that would come out of the Airflow pipe would be how would you say, a normalized a table, a flat table, similar to like a spreadsheet table that you would see out there. It's about X number of columns, 1 million rows deep, et cetera, and we'd go ahead and do that all the time. And so one of the good things is, when you do standard like ETL or batch processing, typically most ETL engineers will look back 7 days. 7 days is good enough. You get all the changes and the deltas that you missed. As we move to this new solution, one of the first things my ETL engineer said is, we can remove that 7-day restriction. We can go ahead and reprocess all 2 years worth of history every day. So that gave us immediate snapshotting and accuracy on our data, which is really important. No longer when, in the airline business, if you think about it, there's 3 dates. There's the date you book, the date you fly, and all the dates in between where bags are added, flight changes occur, and people want to know what's happening on each date to that PNR or that ticket. And it's kind of hard to go back to the original booking date and see all those changes. Now, because we're able to reprocess, we can see the official snapshot that was available to everybody in the organization at that date and time. Because a lot of people take screenshots or save files locally. So oh, your data's lying, now it's changed, there's something wrong, because they want to take attribution credit or something else. Now we can easily say what was the real truth at that point and then show them what's changed here. And it's relatively easy to do with the tools that we have. So that was our initial process that we did. And now in 2017, as our appetite grew, we needed to go ahead and figure out how to make this data available to everybody. And I think that's when did Data Studio came around 2017? I don't know. Yeah, around then. So it's hard to remember because it just moved so fast and Data Studio's evolved so much. We needed a way to give people access to data because not everyone knows how to write queries in our organization. As you can imagine, SQL is a skill that I think everybody will need in the future, but not everyone in the marketing or PR or even product engineers have that skill. So we need to give them a way to access the data. So that's something, I'll talk about that next. And the other two things that, the thing on the right is this other pipeline that we have. So we have the batch pipeline we do in Airflow. And then we went ahead and as we got more sophisticated, we wanted to go ahead and collect data from our clickstream more real time. So we want to be able to look at metrics like button clicks and flight searches. So how many people are looking for a route so we can feed that to our revenue guys real time, and also use that data back on our website. So we wanted a way to process that data real time, and that's where the chart on the right shows is our data flow pipeline. So I think this one is, this is the two that actually go out and tell you how many people are looking at our route in the last hour, and how many people have booked the route in the last hour. So it's like something like that, and I think that's the pipeline there. So if you go to our website, you'll see, I think if you go to booking.com or et cetera, you see these messages, 5,000 people looking at something. We did that all in-house using Dataflow, and that's that process there. And then our guys are like, okay, we got all this great data. We need to put it on a website. They eventually transitioned over to building data services API. So that's kind of how our data integration and transformation process went. So I think we talk about everything there. Cloud Data Store is what we use to actually, the endpoint used to go get that one single point of data. Okay. So then what we did in our core visualization is like BigQuery was there, all the data was there. How do we kind of give this data to our users? So typically, like I said before, Excel was in our ecosystem for a long time. People used to have ODBC connections. And we used to give via email and Excel, here's your data for the month. Because we couldn't process it fast enough. So we just give people, and this is one of the reports, like a monthly nationality report. We would just give it once a month. Everyone on the 7th of the month would be looking for that email and doing their analysis all the time on their machines, right? And what we decided was that was, one, bad, because now everyone had this raw data on their machines all over the place. And as people mentioned, we have to go look for that pen drive or that USB drive, which is anything confidential. We don't really want to do that going forward. Second, in any industry, there's always people going to competitors. You don't know what data they're taking. So we wanted to limit that and make it a little bit harder to do. But the most important thing is we didn't want people to wait until the end of the month. We wanted to give them this data as soon as possible because they're going to conferences and et cetera, and they want to have up-to-date numbers. So there was a lot of ad hoc queries that were being asked in mid-month for people that wanted these numbers. We now give them a visualization. This is one of them from Data Studio. I think we probably have, I don't know, probably close to 100 Data Studio reports. It is our core platform for reporting. For us, our analysts, our pure BI analysts use Tableau as they need to do a lot more slicing and dicing. Again, that hits BigQuery, but for the company itself, we use Data Studio, and one of the reasons we do, it's the pricing model for it is very, very good. So I think it's still free, right? It's free, so I think that works for our low-cost mechanism. So we kind of love that. And then we have Google Sheets as well, for the people that need the data. And I think they just announced that Google Sheets now connects to BigQuery directly. So that other tool that's there, OWOX, we probably won't need that anymore. So that will get rid of that one. So that helps out as well. That makes it a lot easier for us. And it gives us a better security. I think OWOX, the free one, it's not as good with probably what you guys have. So that's going to help us a lot on that. And that's kind of how our analysis and visualization went. And the Data Studio product has evolved. I think it's evolved really, really fast. And we've been working with the guys here to make it cutting edge. They recently added in data blending, which I think is one of the core selling points of the other product on the screen. You can now do that in Data Studio. So there's a lot of great capabilities out there to do that. And one of the things that recently, I think most of our guys, what they like to do is look at the report and then explore or export to sheets, all that is now built in. So we could give them really, in typical BI worlds, you have a universe or something like that, and then you have to know all the facts and dimensions. Now, they don't have to worry about that. They just have to report that is their fact and dimension already there, and they know this is a great one, and they could go ahead and slice and dice to other metrics by just drilling in with Explore or exporting to Sheets. Okay, and so then all this is great, but what does that really mean to the bottom line of our business? The impact is quite large. We reduced our operating costs by 5 to 10%, so we're able to go ahead and figure out where from the data that we're collecting what we can do to save fuel or to turn around times faster. Biggest thing on route planning optimization, we can see, as you know, in Southeast Asia, there's a lot of water and a lot of countries out there, and the carrying that happens of passengers from Singapore to Malaysia is, there's a lot of mix of nationalities and et cetera. So we can go look at, marketing can now look at which nationalities aren't flying that route or where the bookings are being made, so they can go ahead and adjust their marketing plans, which is great. I didn't mention the stuff on digital marketing. I forgot to tell the folks, but one of the first things we did was really optimize our digital marketing spend because that's the easiest thing to do. All that data is already online. It's already clickable, trackable. It wasn't BigQuery. We merged it with our transactional data. We're able to go ahead and really accurately tell our marketing teams what they're really making on each transaction. If you think about the airline world, it's not as simple as the e-commerce world. A lot of payments happen offline. And just in Southeast Asia, most people don't have credit cards. They prefer to pay for transactions via bank payments. So they go to the 7-Eleven or they go to their net banking site and do a transfer. And that's what they prefer to do. Well, I don't know, folks here that with Google Analytics, you have to fire this transaction pixel somewhere. So you're overcounting certain things. And so the marketing guys were thinking they were being more successful with their campaigns than in reality. Half of those transactions were going through. It's a pretty tedious process to update Google Analytics. We kind of shut down all that access and now force our teams to go use Google Data Studio. Similar data, but much more controlled, less mistakes, and much more streamlined. So they can see their campaign, source medium, and all that stuff within one place. And we can accurately monitor who's watching this stuff as well. It's a little bit harder to get those audit reports from there. So that's part of the other thing. Route planning optimization, I told you. The frictionless user experience is really, you know, I don't know if you looked at a lot of airline sites. Airline sites in Asia are notoriously terrible, and they're just not really great. So what we started to do is really look at all the metrics and all the clickstream that we're capturing and trying to figure out a better way to make the experience better. So we would see where people are clicking, what buttons they're not clicking on, where they're falling off, conversion rates, or errors that they're having, and we'll use that to go ahead and drive changes on the website. So our data analysts and our data engineers, we work with our product engineers and our software engineers to go ahead and really work in tandem. When anything was fixed, they would go check the metrics, or anything breaks, our alert would go back out and the guys would go ahead and fix it. And obviously everything that they're tracking, they have a dashboard in Data Studio to go ahead and see the funnel rates. So one of the things that's happening right now, probably not the best thing to say now, is there's an issue on the website. Our operations guys can easily see that through the funnel reports, and they can raise to the appropriate teams, because we do rely on some third parties, and the third parties cause that degradation, and we can see that very quickly and very succinctly. Everyone's saying the same message to everybody. We're experiencing a 2% decline in something, and it's because of this reason. No one is saying it's you doing this or you doing that. There's one single source of truth that happens, and ultimately that's led to higher conversion as we're able to close issues faster and get customers to come back more frequently, because the website is more seamless and easy to use. And we apply the same principles to mobile as well. And with Firebase analytics or export to BigQuery, we do the same process on that data as well. So I think that's it.